executive session.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Jimenez. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Silva. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Moving on to item 1D, discussion, Chief Herrera, Assistant Chief Hayden, and Lieutenant Evans' evaluation and the police consultant report. Councilwoman Cantu.
Did y'all want to speak or rebuttal anything from the last meeting?
Good evening, Council and Mayor. For a chief of police, nothing is more heartbreaking than to see infighting and discord among officers and the people of our fine city. You heard from me, from one man who has torn us down. Now hear my response. My department, like all departments, need work. But I stand before you today in the spirit of cooperation and hard work, ready to make the necessary improvements to bring our department to greatness. Give me your support and the necessary tools, and I promise you I will make it happen. In my entire career as Chief of Police, I have never refused to work with council. Not even now. Some of the recommendations made require money and time. If you, the council, is truly interested in working for a better Floresville, then I ask that you work with me and my administration at making this a great department. Thank you.
Thank you again, council. I don't want to, I think you've heard quite a bit of how the citizens feel. And I think that comes from a social contract that exists between the police department and the citizens. The citizens of Floresville have a long history of working well with the police department. There's always an occasional person that wants to come in and make a complaint of rudeness, and maybe get crossways with an individual officer. This is my second employment with this city. I worked here in the late 90s, early part of 2000, 2001, and now. The time that I know of, there's never been a time where city council and administration could not work together to resolve any issues. Again, with the report itself, I think, we can only beat a horse for so long. Our contention is there is a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of contradictions within this report. But again, Dr. Taylor, with all respect to him, he's not from Floresville. He came down here and he spent a small amount of time, and he based his opinions off of what he was told. The fact is, we've extended the olive branch, and that, as far as I'm concerned, we still extend it to each and every one of you on council. Any one of you at any time are welcome to come to the police department. In fact, now with everything that's happened, I would encourage it. This isn't my first management rodeo. Chief Herrera's been doing this a long time. Lieutenant Evans has been doing this a long time. And as someone in the crowd pointed out, we have between us over 75 years of experience as a Texas peace officer. My license was issued in 1992. Lieutenant Evans had his license issued a month after mine in 92, and Chief Herrera had his license issued in 93. We worked with Lieutenant Evans and I worked in various departments all over South Texas, and we have a lot of experience to offer. In my personal opinion, and I'll close it with this, I think it's unwise to scrap an entire management team and start from scratch. You are never, I don't care what organization, whether it's police work, whether it's pick a profession, it doesn't matter. You're never going to have you're never going to have 100% of the employees happy. Someone is always going to be upset with the decision the managers made, the supervisors made, before coming back to to Floresville when I worked for Cleat. No secret, everybody knows I worked for Cleat. When I worked for Cleat, I had many departments in South Texas. I covered a wide range. Dwight was my boss, and he can attest to that. I have never been in one department where I have not heard, well, my sergeant doesn't like me, or my lieutenant's out to get me, or my chief this, or my chief that, or it's not going good. Ladies and gentlemen, that happens everywhere. There's always going to be somebody who's upset with the decision. And it's no different in Floresville. Yes, there's decisions Chief Herrera has made. There's times he's made decisions, where I recommended something and he's shot me down. That's just business. That's the way it goes. But to scrap an entire management team because there's a handful of upset people or they're upset with a certain issue, I don't think is a wise way to go. I trust that each and every one of you has thought this through. And as the gentleman said in the opening prayer tonight, I trust and I hope that you will make the best decision, not what's right for how you personally feel or how I personally feel, but what's right for the citizens. Crime is low. Your consultant told you that. And regardless of the amount of police programs, training, you can pick whatever, K-9, you can pick anything, drug interdiction, no matter what you pick, no matter what the topic is, under the umbrella of law enforcement. At the end of the day, there's only one thing that matters. Is the community safe? And I think your consultant has shown that Floresville has no crime problem. That's not by coincidence. That's not by accident. That's because from the lowest ranking officer to the chief of police, everybody does a good job. So again, I thank you for your time. I hope that you thought your decision through and you make the right decision. Thank you all.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. To address something specific, I'd like to let it be known. Obviously, my name is Jesse Evans, for those who don't know. What you need to know initially is regarding the report. I was never asked about my participation or productivity with any special unit. Not once by anyone. Had I been asked, I would have given the direction necessary to find the answers to, or I would have answered myself regarding any appropriate questions. I can provide that information to the council now or at any other time. But due to the sensitive nature of drug investigations and the safety of others, including my family, it's not appropriate to do so in a public forum. So I won't address those answers here. I'd be glad to do it in a private forum. That being said, I'd be happy to dispel any myths or inaccuracies and let my work speak for itself as far as my assignment's concerned. Other than that, everything's been said, I believe. I think it's time for us to stop laying blame and start working in cooperation. If there's things that need to be fixed, let's fix them, and let's do it together. That's all I'm going to say.
Are there any citizens' comments at this point? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 1C, discussion and possible action to establish a new committee comprised of 5 residents of the city of Floresville, with each council member selecting 1 member of the committee. The committee's purpose is to evaluate and make recommendations regarding the police consultant's report. Councilwoman Cantu, this is your item.
Yes, it is, Madam Mayor. And I just wanted to form this group because, in my opinion, I feel that Dr. Taylor's report was very biased and was one-sided. That's how I feel. Certain individuals were targeted, and that's my opinion.
Any other comments or suggestions by the council members? Okay. I'll entertain a motion. On item 1C, again, discussion and possible action to establish a new committee comprised of 5 residents of the city of Floresville, with each council member selecting 1 member of the committee. The committee's purpose, again, is to evaluate and make recommendations regarding the police consultant's report. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Jimenez. Do I have a second?
I second.
A second by Councilwoman Cantu. All those in favor, please raise your right hands. Oh, I'm sorry, citizens' comments? Any citizens' comments regarding this? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? 2 to 3, thank you. Moving on to item 1B, discussion and possible action regarding consultant's report, excuse me, on the city police department, including recommendations regarding removal of the chief of police, the assistant chief of police, and the police lieutenant. City council may adjourn into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, personnel to deliberate the employment, evaluations, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of an employee. So council, here's your opportunity. If you have anything to say at this point, any discussion on the items.
Madam Mayor, who sponsored this? Why doesn't it have it on there who sponsored it? I thought that it had to be on there. It doesn't?
No, general city policies that we do, but there's nothing in the charter or ordinances that require a listed sponsor.
Chris, why are we changing things all of a sudden?
That was just, they were put on there without a sponsor. I hate to say there's no legal requirement that it have a
I
sponsor.
understand that, but you've been looking at, you've been looking at everything, and sometimes you do everything at will. I'll do it today, I won't do it tomorrow. You're inconsistent with a lot of things that you're doing.
So I'll take whatever blame is to be held for this. It was my understanding there was a sponsor for an item for a discussion about this report. I'll finish. I was told that 2 council members had sponsored an item to be placed on the agenda to discuss these issues specifically. And so I drafted it in such a way as to try to fully capture everything that y'all may want to discuss. And I didn't tell staff to place a sponsor on there because I didn't know that that was a requirement.
But you know there's a requirement for 2 council people to do that. And
I
our attorney
no, I didn't
knows,
know that,
and our
yeah.
city secretary knows that we normally put a sponsor,
Okay.
whether it's myself, the mayor, the city manager, or someone.
Yeah.
So,
So I apologize. I didn't know that it was required to be placed on the agenda.
but who sponsored? Who sponsored you?
Well, I don't know who did that.
If I may,
told.
Councilman, a special meeting was requested. We had 2 councilmen to request a special meeting, and they signed for a special meeting with this topic. I contacted the attorney because this is a police
We're
issue.
just asking who sponsored it.
I requested the special meeting, Councilman.
Councilman Silva and Councilman Neeson requested a special meeting. And the issue to be discussed was the report. I contacted the attorney because he's the attorney that you all have chosen to take care of police issues. And he gave me the verbiage to give to the secretary to place it on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay. Moving on to the item. This is the opportunity for council to make statements, suggestions, go forward with it.
I'd like to start. I think that to better our city with the funding that we have, there's a lot of things that the police department needs and all the other departments need. We only have a certain amount of monies. Everybody, actually, we come in as a council person.
Councilman, can you speak into the microphone because the tape recorder won't pick you up?
I said, everybody that comes in onto the council, they have a wish list. Hey, I come in wanting to work on the roads, permits and stuff like that. And luckily, I got my part going. And there's people that want to work with the police department, maybe like yourselves or whatever. But we only have a certain amount of monies to do certain things. You know, all departments have a wish list. You know, there's a lot of things that the police department may need or as we know now that they do need a lot of certain things that we need to look at. And, you know, us as a small city, we only have a certain amount of monies, and that's why our department's lacking maybe on a little bit of things. But I've always been for to bring about a lot of training wherever it's needed. So I think that instead of spending the money that, like we did, but it's just too late now, you know, that we could have used it towards the training and everything for police officers or the radios that they need or whatever. And I think, and what we discussed earlier, I think it would be a good idea that we all work together and maybe bring in somebody else to help assist on the things that I know for a fact a lot of things are incorrect, that's what Dr. Taylor said. But we could use that as to hold our ground right there to look at the things that we need to look at. And I think that if we all work together, keep everything the same, bring in maybe somebody else, like an ex-chief or something, that they work alongside with him, mentor him, and make it happen with him.
I think that's a good idea.
So you're right, Councilman Jimenez, I agree that something needs to happen, and the purpose of spending this money, the purpose of having this review done was to give us the insight needed to make that realization. I don't think any of us have ever been licensed police officers. I don't think any of us have worked within any police department and can say for a fact how it should be run. So we sought out different options, as you know, to see how we can go about doing this. We were presented several options. This happened to be the least expensive option. You know that. So we as a council have the authority to do that as per our charter. So we did that. And so we were given an aerial view of our police department. Whether anybody agrees with any part of it or disagrees with any part of it, or even in whole, we can discuss that until we're blue in the face. The fact of the matter is we do now have a picture, whether it's the most high definition picture we can get, or whether it's the lowest resolution picture we can get, we have a picture of what's going on in our department, and we can sit here today and make some decision as to how we can move forward with our police department, ensure that our citizens are protected by the most well-trained, well-equipped police department that our city deserves. So that's why we're here today. And I agree with you. I agree that we do need a second opinion. I agree that that our police department needs work, and that moving forward, there are some big decisions to make. However, at this point, possibly looking at a second opinion, whether that be through a private third party or a state department, TPOL, for example, would be an option for us to look at moving forward so that we can get this department up to speed.
Any other comments? All right, are there any possible actions regarding this, or I'll entertain?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to bring in TCO, TCLOS, to do a review. I would like to suspend the police chief for 30 to 60 days until TCO completes the review with pay. With pay, he will not lose a thing, he'll be with pay. And after the review from TCO, bring in a mentor to work with our police chief to fix all the recommendations that they found and the other report found, to keep us from getting any lawsuits down the road.
I have is that a motion?
That's the motion. And the police chief will be able to work with TCO if any questions are asked of him.
I thought Gerard had made a motion.
He never said a motion.
I did.
I didn't hear it.
Well, I mean, that's what I meant, you know,
Well,
I would like to do that, you know,
everything.
Jacob said something.
We were just still discussing. I don't think we're entertaining a motion. So
Okay. So there is a motion on the floor by Councilman Nick Neeson to suspend the police chief, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll look at the attorneys for the right of words, to suspend the police chief for 30 to 60 days while T-Close, with pay, while T-Close is contacted to come in and review the department.
And
Bringing a mentor
And bringing a mentor
to
to
work
the chief
with
to
the
work.
police chief to get all the deficiencies TICO found and this report found if recommended from TICO.
And my recommendation here would be per the charter, since the chief is kind of a bifurcated position between the council and the manager, to ensure that the manager is on board as the head administrative officer of the city.
Can I say something in regards to that?
Yes.
I don't think we need to suspend the police chief. I think he needs to be there to work along that
I still have a motion on the floor by Councilman Nissen. Do I have a second?
Well, we need to back the motion around. Mr. Gerard said he didn't believe it. Does any other council have a recommendation? And I'll change the motion.
I think the suspension is kind of arbitrary. I don't think it's really necessary. A department of our size, it does need leadership at the helm. If I understand correctly, the next in charge may still be out. I can be corrected if I'm wrong.
excuse me? Oh,
Okay, so regardless, the suspension just seems arbitrary. The T-Close could come in for any amount of time, I think, and, to put a date on that is just, it's arbitrary. It just doesn't feel right.
Not arguing.
And then anything that TICO's finds that we aired in public session or executive session, then any action can be taken after that.
Right.
well,
Okay,
he said
so,
correction, that we would correct.
Yes, whatever.
And to not limit,
It's like training.
to T-Close, I think perhaps a third party rather than T-Close, because there may be a different organization that may be more equipped or even less expensive to handle this. I don't know who that is. I don't know law enforcement.
Doesn't charge.
So if they don't charge, then that's good, but we should probably still leave it open-ended to ensure that we have the right options.
As a suggestion from our attorneys, what would be classified as a third party? Would that be TICO? Either one of you, both are legal brains.
TICO would classify as a third party with the city, because your two parties would be the city and the police department, and so bringing in a third party, if you said that, would encompass TICO.
I just don't want it to be a situation where we call them and they say, well, we don't cover, we can't investigate all these issues, and so they have gaps there.
So we may need to require to bring in a third party.
Right.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to bring,
Yeah. What I'm saying is that I think it's very important that the chief is there, so that way you understand that the original one.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
no, I'm fine.
Okay. Well, then,
Okay, so I'll like
change your motion.
You can leave it
I
the
think
same,
they're
but just
trying to.
change that the chief won't be there. I mean, the chief
let me
won't
do
be
it,
there.
please, Councilman.
Okay.
Thank you. I'd like to amend my motion to bring in TICO, have the police work with them, and if TICO cannot do it, we'll bring in a third party. I think that's what they just said.
No, I'm pretty sure they can do it.
What did you say, Councilman Jay?
I said what you're saying.
Thank you. If we need to bring in a third party, if TICO says they can't do it, we'll bring in the third party. And we will try to find a mentor to help the police chief get up to speed on all the recommendations that is needed. And if we have it, I was redo it. Okay. We'll make a motion to bring in TICO. Police chief will work with them, stay on payroll. If Tico cannot do it, and they tell us he cannot do it, we will bring in a third party
To work with the police.
to work with the police chief. And if needed, we'll bring in a retired policeman to help the police chief fix all the recommendations that is needed to get our department up to date.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Newsom. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Councilman Jimenez. And he said,
Can you read that back, Monica, please?
I didn't get it all, I was gonna ask Chris.
I need to hear it all back. To make sure that everything, we're missing something.
So the councilman's motion was to bring in T-Cole to conduct a review and to work with the chief to find administrative issues. If T-Cole cannot perform the requested functions, to bring in another third party who can perform such functions, and to find a retired, I believe you said police officer, not necessarily a police chief.
Well, police chief that knows
Retired.
how everything, police officers and chiefs are completely different because
Well, that's
police
what I was asking.
officers,
Police chief.
A retired police chief
retired police chief.
to work on fixing the issues that are raised in the review.
you get it down? Any citizens' comments at this moment? Okay, I have a
How does the police department feel about this?
I just asked for citizens' comments.
Oh, okay.
I think I agree with this. Let me restate it if I may. I think what we're saying here, we're going to bring in TICO or an agency, outside agency, if TICO can't do it, with the idea of fixing what's wrong, and you don't have to have that, but that's my understanding, fixing what's wrong, and if necessary, hire a retired police chief to serve as a mentor to make sure that we get where we want to go. And there's no suspension or adverse action here at this point, and shouldn't be.
There's none.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would ask our security to be doing their job this evening.
I'm just not clear, does that mean he is on a 30, 60-day probation, or no? Okay, because it kind of sounded like it, and then it didn't. Okay.
Conversation earlier, just pull that conversation back.
We got a motion, right?
I have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 5-0. Thank you so much. That will be the conclusion of today's meeting.